Welcome, friends. Many of us have probably heard the name Jennie Wade or know something about her. So, to continue our series on the Battle of Gettysburg, people, events, units, such like that, we're going to start today with Virginia Jennie Wade. If you never heard of her, I hope you learned something you didn't know. Virginia Wade was born in Gettysburg, May 21st, 1843. She had a pretty average childhood for a person of the time period. She grew up to become a seamstress in town with her mother on Breckenridge Street in Gettysburg. Her father was submitted to a mental asylum when she was a very young adult, so she worked hard to help her mother keep up financially. She had one elder sister and two younger brothers, who she loved and were very close to. She was always seen as a positive energy in town, even falling in love with a young man named Johnson Hastings Skelly, but he went by Jack Skelly. She, Jack, and another young man, Wesley Culps, were the best of friends. Now, Wesley Culps was related to the man who owned Culps Hill. It's not known what the relation was, it was just known he was related to the man who owned Culps Hill and Culps Homestead. But he had, in the 1850s, very late in the 1850s, decided to move to Virginia to become a railroad worker, settling in Virginia. But the three friends kept in touch. But much like many young people's lives in April 1861, the world would change. Jack Kelly, possibly having gotten engaged to Jennie, volunteered for service in the Union Army. Wesley Culp volunteered for service in the Confederate Army. Jennie, of course, remained in Gettysburg, which was now divided. The radical Republican leader, Thaddeus Stevens, was actually Gettysburg representative in the United States Congress, but people from Cashtown in the north of Gettysburg were in fact highly supportive of the Southern cause. But in 1863, something happened that would change the Wades' lives forever. Jennie's sister Georgia had given birth to a baby, so the whole family decided to stay with them on Baltimore Street near the Culps homestead and Cemetery Hill. Georgia and her husband liked how it was far away from the hustle and bustle of the town and seemed like a good place to raise a family. But soon they would hear the sound of horses entering the town. The Wades discovered General John Buford's division entering the town on June 30th, 1863. The troopers were doing their best to encourage civilians to leave the town, but many refused, believing the threat not to be too serious. But quickly reality struck as men of the 11th Corps began to take up defenses near the house on July 1st, 1863. Georgia was too weak to leave, and during the fighting on July 2nd, what is believed to be an explosive shell struck the house, landing only feet from Georgia and her child in bed. However, of course, it clearly did not go off, since both of them would survive the battle. But since the 1st and 11th Corps retreated the first day, the Wades had been providing water and food to the Union troops who were just outside their doorstep. But throughout the 3 days of fighting, sharpshooters had been fighting throughout the town. But it was believed the house was far enough, and Jennie's mother recognized the fact that the 2nd Corps commander, Winfield Scott Hancock's headquarters, was only a yard away from the house, so they decided to continue giving food and water to the exhausted federal troops. Now, on July 2nd, Jennie's friend Wesley Culps had been killed at Spangler Spring, which was at the bottom of the hill that bore his last name. The legend follows that Wesley had met with Jack Skelly, who had been captured outside Winchester, Virginia, and it was said he gave Wesley a letter to give to Jennie. Jack was shot a few hours after capture, while trying to escape. He would die July 12, 1863. Jennie, however, on July 3rd, awoke to see more exhausted men of the 2nd, 1st, 11th, and 6th Corps around her sister's home. The soldiers did not ask for anything, but Jennie could see their exhaustion. So after helping her mother with her sister, she returned to the kitchen and began to make bread and prepare water to give to the exhausted men who had been fighting in what was possibly the hottest summer of almost anyone present's lifetime. There's a few different accounts of what happened next. The most popular is a sniper in the home of the Farnsworth family saw the federal troops and fired towards the house. Another is a stray bullet from dueling sharpshooters just went towards the house. And finally, another was a retreating Union soldier. Upon withdrawing from the town, his rifle just simply discharged. Who did it, we don't know. But we know a Minay ball had gone through 2 doors, striking Jennie Wade in her back. She collapsed, dying immediately. This was at about 8 o'clock a.m. on July 3rd. Her mother investigated after hearing the noise of something collapsing, then began to scream and tell Georgia how her sister was dead. 2 federal soldiers who the family was allowing to stay in the house came down and put their wool blanket around her, carrying her into the cellar with the rest of the family, where Virginia's mother, Mary, would put a quilt over her deceased daughter. From the cellar, they could hear Porter Alexander's bombardment begin. For hours they sat there, and then the fighting of Pickett's charge began. Then silence. Jennie was given a proper burial. The federal troops had actually given her the coffin intended for General William Barksdale of Longstreet's Corps, who had died on July 2nd. After burying her in the yard of her sisters, the Union Army had to clean up the field. But they only did a quick job, as Meade had orders to pursue Lee. So a few yards from George's home, a pile of dead horses was piled by the locals and burned, while the rest of the population, including Jennie's mother, led by Elizabeth Thorne, the pregnant wife of the Evergreen Cemetery caretaker, which was located on Cemetery Hill, began to clean up rifles, bayonets, and dead men, trying what they could do to make their scarred town slightly safer. Jennie was the only civilian killed in the battle. In 1882, almost 20 years, the 20-year anniversary of the battle, the United States Senate voted to give Jennie's mother a full government pension, stating her daughter died a hero, assisting federal troops on the 3 most consequential days of the American Civil War. In 1864, Jennie was moved from her sister's yard and buried in Evergreen Cemetery across the street near the grave of her lover, Jack Skelly. In 1900, a monument was built to her, along with a permanent American flag on her grave. She is one of 2 citizens in Gettysburg given that right. Tomorrow we will actually talk about the second person, who I personally refer to as the Madman of Gettysburg. The reason people are not quite sure and have chosen to accept it was a Confederate sharpshooter is mainly because of the bullet. After going through her back, heart, the bullet did exit and got trapped in her corset. The bullet, as I said before, was a mini ball or Minay ball. It's technically a Minay ball because it's French, but Americans, most of us pronounce it mini. But a Minay ball. Now, most Confederate sharpshooters were not actually equipped with Minay balls. They were mostly using hunting muskets and other style of rifle, which is not impossible to think they could have been using them. But the mini ball were mainly used by federal troops. So that is why there is a debate on who had shot the bullet. But nonetheless, Jennie was a hero. She didn't need to help the Union soldiers. The reality the road her sister's house was on was the Union supply line, but she wanted to help however she could. And knowing that bullets were flying, she still went out of her way to help. You can not only visit her grave in Evergreen, but actually her sister's home, which is now known as the Jennie Wade House today, in Gettysburg. It still stands, and you can even still see the door that the bullet went through, and learn all about her and her sad end, as well as Wesley and Jack's deaths. Thanks for watching. I will actually leave links to the Jennie Wade House. They do have a nonprofit. Unlike Meade's headquarters or Lee's headquarters, National Park Service does not own the house. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And tomorrow we'll be talking about the Madman of Gettysburg, John Burns. Thanks for watching, and see you real soon.